In this video, I'm going to show you the Neck Easter Story project. So let's get started. I have a fun project here. A team came in and said, can we record the Neck Easter Story sometime soon? And I looked at our schedule, and our studio, one of them happened to be available, Studio A, and said, why don't you come in after lunch? So here I am setting up the project. So I come in to my Reaper, I open it up, I go File, and then I go to Project Templates, and then I'm going to my single narrator. And I have videos of how I set this up. So I click on that, and then I'm going to go File, Save Project As, and I come into here, and I've already set up the folders. So I've set up a folder for Reaper, and I go into there, and I'm going to call it the NIF, that's the Ethnocode Neck Easter Story. And so I'm going to take it, and I'm going to overwrite that. So in my current projects that I'm working on here, I go here, I put underscore so it's at the beginning, Neck, and here's my Reaper project here. And so it's all set up. And then I make the folders. I make one for the originals, one for the masters, and one for the markers. And then I'm going to make a video of this also. So I'm going to scan their books or get their things, and I'm going to make Slideshow. So I'll show you that later on. I'm not going to add that folder until a little bit later. I first want to give you a tour of our studio here. This is Studio A, Studio B is to my right. You can see that none of us has been motivated to finish decorating the place. That's supposed to have color on those foams there to knock down the echo and stuff like that. There I have my computer and my sound card, and there's the talkback system here. And then here's where the person sits to record. This is our big studio where we have that wall there to make it smaller, but it's so we can do music groups. And here's where the person is going to sit to read. And they can look through the glass to see us. Studio B is next to Studio A. It's smaller. It's half the size. And my coworker is in here doing a recording. But I caught him when he's out. That's where the people sit. And there's all his stuff and his coffee and our talkback system here. And then our speaker, our rockets. And then here we have the setup. This person was reading from a book also. We have that black phone to make sure that they sit up straight. They start to slouch and get far away from the microphone. And they can look back and see the people in the sound room. Studio C is more just a room, and you have to do more of a village type recording. We have hung microphones, but sometimes you just use the head-worn microphone in here. It's just we only had so much space to build so many studios. Here you can see how the pastor is in relation to the microphone. Now I'm going to show you some of my recording process.
Biyangan sanok, nakama koy eyang vanam na antangamlit. Mandan churungut etere.
He made a mistake, and so I cleaned up the beginning of it, and then I'm going to find where the mistake is.
Mandan churungut.
We listen back, and yes, that's where the mistake is, so I do my shortcut.
Mandan churungut ereta. Kurum yambat kantem neptumbu koron.
And told him to record, and there we went. And I clean it up, and it moves down, and ready to go.
Kurum yambat kantem neptumbu.
That's where we're going to start.
Kurum yambat.
Okay. Hit my shortcut.
Kurum yambat kantem neptumbu korawa.
And then we record there. Okay, and then we're ready to do the next part. I'm adding a marker because we're having a marker between each page. And so that's the page number right there.
Eumbi wolongan pupupta katumbi. 90 tambumbi petrol yesulu manda nunguk.
So he made another mistake there. And so
90 tambumbi petrol yes.
And we listened. He said, yes, that's the correct place to start.
Petrol Yesul Mandangandang Nunguk when Nandusukuk.
Okay, and he got done, and you notice there's like a lot of glottal type things, noises. So I move that down, and when I do my noise gate, I want to make sure I don't cut those off.
Amatam kaman katok and the pilatorong lombi kundit net same.
Okay, he made another mistake, and so we're gonna go and we're gonna start. Yeah, that's the spot. So we'll go ahead and just start recording.
Kundit net same nunguk. Wundangot number same tok nanandang.
We can go down there and we'll make some other corrections.
Yesu tragala kay tangam nilang tok saurong kaman.
Okay, I had to put a de-esser on her, but he had these long S's. So what you do is you just splice them between them, and then you can just jam them together.
It's still
a little too long, and he didn't like that, so I just rag those edges in and pull it over, and I ask him again. And he was happy with that, to have it that. It was still a little long, but he was happy with that. And they had those hard sounds like that. And so I wanted to make it a little bit softer. So I take it and I splice and do a fade out. I moved it over, and you can see I probably made it too soft. And the noise gate gets it so it disappears now. Now we're proofing the audio, and I'm looking at my reefer, now my noise gate. Like I said, I had to be really careful that I didn't trim off the glottals and those kind of things, but try to get off as much as I can the noises. Okay, I had to put a DS on him. He just was really essy, and so I'll have a link to show you how to do a good de-esser. So you can see here S is coming up, and see how it pushed it down a couple dBs, and so it's just kind of hold those S's down. Then I set my EQ, and then a compressor. I actually had to put 2 compressors on him. He was really dynamic, and so I put 2 compressors, and that way I didn't have to limit it as much, because the second compressor kind of held it down, so you can see that I don't have to limit too much there. Also, when we're proofing, you can see here, I'm actually editing. I'm using my shortcut to be able to remove those noises. And here, we're going to do a record and redo. He didn't like that, so I throw it off to the side, and then we're going to record it again. Then I trim the pre-roll here and brings it down, and then I can delete the old there, and I want to keep the timing, so I'm going to bring this over and hang on to that. It helps move the marker too. We just got done recording, and I'm back in my office so I can narrate as I go along instead of have to overdub. So I have the end here, and I have my region, because this is how I have it set up to be able to export it. So I could take it, and I double click on here. So I do my shortcut, Control-Shift-1, and this will turn off the effects over here and just export the dry narration. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you can see that it turned off the effects. And then I need to go and put it in the right location. Okay, and I need to go into here, and I'm going to put it in there, next story. Yes, and so I'm going to go ahead, hit there. Make sure this is set okay, 44.1, yeah, mono, and I'm going to render it. Now that is complete, make sure to double click. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the master, so it's going to have all the effects that I have over here, that I'm going to apply those, so it's going to go slower when it outputs it. So I'm going to double click, make sure I have my region here, my Control-Shift-2, and then I want to change the folder to make sure I don't overwrite my original. And I put it into my master here, and I'm going to hit here, everything, nothing needs to change. Okay, and now my loops is about where I want it. I want it in the 15 range. You can see it's a little bit flatter here because I've taken some of the dynamics out of it. I need to put out my markers. So Control-Shift-3, and then I need to go into here where my markers go, and I'm going to put that down there, and it's going to be a text file. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to back it up to our server. So I'm going to click here, and these are some of the corrections, but then I'm going to export it here. Now I'm going to add music. The reason I don't add music when we're doing the proofing is because I have the ripple editing on, and if I move anything around, it chops up the music. So I bring in the music later on. The music is just like padding, so it's to put something in the background. And at the beginning here, when they're like a head talk or in the beginning, I'm not going to have music. So I'm going to go, and here it's going to say, you don't see the script.
Malako number 11, 1 11.
Okay, and I want the music to come in here, and so I'm going to fade it in. And you can fade in a little bit early or however.
Tembeyesungat mawangi and Jerusalem itquit. Tombundumalombi.
And I want to look at the volume and I want to hear it, but I don't want it to be too loud. So you can sit here and you can, play with the volume a little bit and bring it up a little bit. So
Tembeyesungat mawangi and Jerusalem itquit. Tombundumalombi.
And it tends to be louder in headphones than it is on speakers. We want it down low. We don't want it to be noticeable by the people, but you want to know that something's there. And then when it comes to the section heads, you'll know that that's different without them saying a section head, because sometimes they'll just be listening to this audio and not have any video. So now I'm going to go down to the next section, and I will let it play through. These are the picture changes, and I'm going to go ahead and let it play through that.
Buta. Tambeng bawang pet and the ngambi. Donkin ngam telak yamanan top man.
Okay, so the next change is on page 21. So I come down to page 21, and it's too short. So I can just take it and hit Control D, and it duplicates it. And so I go back out here. So you can take it with this general padding here. You usually can just take it, and I'm going to trim off the end here, and just shove it together. And so it should sound okay when it transitions across.
Kanten ngan slak tumbukolala. Tuk tok tuan van wopum sanak. Manem 300.
Okay, so now I'm going to come to 21, and this is where he has. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to splice it, and then I'm going to take this and shove it over. And I'm going to fade this out. And this is where the slide's going to change. So I'm going to bring this back a little bit because I want it out when the slide changes.
Yesulo kambe pi mawangi tepangapangale tesemuk. Kulan na ng kamulumpende namnat nanalok kulat 9.
Okay, and I go along there. Now I'll go back. And I will listen to the whole thing, make sure that there's no timing that needs to be changed. And I'll listen through it again and make sure that the levels are fine. And I'll be turning on headphones at different speakers to listen to the levels. And so I'll listen through the whole book again. Now that I have the music set how I want it, the levels and everything, I'm going to take it and double click on here. I want to mute the narration track. And because I want it dry, but it will have the volume on it, I'm going to do my Control-Shift-1 and just without any effects. And it should. I need to make sure that I unmuted that and want to make sure it's correct. And then I'll go find the folder. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go music and make that nice and big so that we know that this is the music for it. So we render that out. And yes, it is down low because it's really soft. Okay, now I'm going to take it and I want to mix these together. So I'm going to do my shortcut, and it should unmute this, turn on the effects here. And I want to go up here and let you know that I have effects. I have a master limiter. -2, -2. So when the music and the narration goes over, I go strong that it doesn't go over. So I'm going to go, double click, make sure that these aren't mute, that the effects are on, and then I'm going to take it and I want it to go into my masters, and I want it to be narration and music. You can name it however you want to. And I'm going to do it mono. The music might be stereo, but I'm going to do it mono because we want the output to be in mono, and that's how we distribute it. So now I'm done with the audio. Now it's time to start moving towards the video. So now I'm going to prepare the audio for the slideshow. So it's easiest if you can chop up each page, because each page has a picture on it. Chop it up, the audio. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to grab my narration with the music and drag it and drop it down here, and it's going to import it. So once it imports it, I want to take it and bring in the labels that I have. So we can go to here, import labels. Okay, and here I went in to where my markers are. And so now what it's going to do, I'm going to export multiples. So right here, page 16, it's going to take page 16 from here to page 17 and make that a file. Then page 17 to 18, 19 and make that a file. So when I bring it in, I can see how I put my audio down, and then I can just put the pictures according to the pages. So I go up here and I say File, and I go Alt Export, and then I say Multiples. Click on Multiples here, and so I'll choose the correct folder, and I made a folder called Audio for Video. So I go into there, I select that folder, and then here you choose tracker labels, and I'm going to name it based on the labels. So I want to export on labels, not on tracks. And then here it's naming it based on the label. So here, where it says title, that will be called title. Then this section right here, page 2 and 3, will be called 2-3, etc., etc. And then when I hit export, and then it export all those. And you can see the naming here has the title, then 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and so it made a file for each of those. So you don't have to save this because you can easily bring it back up and do it if you need to do it again. So I went into the folder, and here they are. So these are coming along, and I'm going to take these and now put them in my video software. You can use any video software to be able to do this. I'm going to just use CapCut because that's what I use for YouTube. So in this video, I'm not going to show you how to use CapCut, but I'm just kind of show you the basic. I know our friends and they help us out here, and they have a scripture app to be able to do videos that they're doing over and over again. And so, but this is a one-off. They had the pages and the pictures and everything like that, and it was different. So this is going to be a one-off project. So I'm just doing it in this video software. So what I did is I brought in the audio, and here is file one. This is the title. Okay, and we had them record that. So you can see title. And then here is page 2 to 3, then page 4 to 5, page 6. And then I just brought in the image that went with it. I got all the images and I named them the same as the page number. And so here's page 4, and I bring it in. So, okay, now I put the video down here so you can see it. And so then you just work on your transitions, how you do it in your software. So then I just took it and I export it, and then I take the whole thing and I export it. And then I open up any video converter, take it, drag it down here, and I convert it 2 different ways. I do the mobile phone 3GP, and that's for our basic phones. A lot of people have those. They're little teeny screens, and this makes a really small file, and they can do that. And then I do the Android right here, the MPEG-4. These are for the smartphones. And then I export these, and then I have 2 distribution copies. I have my master, but then I use these as my distribution copies. So that's basically how I did this project here. I started off, they came in the morning, started recording in the afternoon. The next morning we finished recording, and then I just made the video in the afternoon and I distributed to them. I did make MP3s, and you have to see how I do that in my post-production videos, but that was real simple. I just used Flax Squisher, and I just squished out the audio. I did narration only, and then narration with music and effect. So they have that. And I have to give this to someone that's going to be in the US, going to make some literacy materials app. And so I was able to upload those to Google Drive, and that person can get those things down and make their literacy app for them. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how I do this. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. If you found any value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share so YouTube will recommend it to others.